Hello, Wilkes-Barre Knights fans, alongside NAHL assistant coach and EHL head coach Josh Fusco. I'm Andrew Mossbrooks. We're going to be wrapping up our Eastern Hockey League edition of Coach's Corners for the 2018-19 season. Fusco, last time I talked to you, I said I don't want to say goodbye just yet because hopefully we're doing this in late March. In fact, we're doing it in early April. You guys made it to the distance. You made it to the EHL Frozen Finals. 18 teams at the end of the season were left, and only 12 able to make it into the playoffs, and you made it from 18 all the way down to 4. I have to imagine this ranks among the top, perhaps the best year you've had as a coach.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, as a coach, I think organization-wise, it was definitely a special year. Definitely something I'll never forget and something I'll take with me the rest of my life.
I think it's amazing when you look at this team's journey too, and talking with a lot of the players at the time of this recording, the exit interviews have happened. You've already had a chance to say goodbye to some of the guys, some of which it's goodbye for good. They're 98s, they're moving on. Others it's, hey, let's do this again next year. And I imagine just kind of a whirlwind of emotions. But take me back to August. Take me back to before a puck even drops on the season. It's summertime. It certainly doesn't feel like there should be hockey played based on how the temperatures go outside. Meanwhile, you're in the offices of Revolution Ice Center trying to build a team. You need 20-plus guys to assemble a team that you hoped would compete. Take me all the way back there and just kind of how the magic began.
That's a while ago.
What you remember from back then.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, that's the first step in the process, right, is the spring, the summertime, all the camps that I attended, all the showcases. We had that showcase team that we took to Boston. A majority of those kids played on that team. And it was just, plucking kids from showcase to showcase, and then obviously main camp. The big thing for them was, the NA. It's an NA camp, get some guys in there, see what they can do at that level, see where they rank amongst, our prospects with the NA and guys returning for the NA. And it was kind of one of those things where it was a building a relationship with the kid, and the families. I spent a lot of time there the latter part of August of building this team and putting the pieces together, and I took a big step forward. I think, as a staff, we took a big step forward of looking at kids that have that ability to play in the North American Hockey League. And then obviously getting them in the building and showing them what we have to offer and showing them what we do as a staff with our players. And it was a grind, and then obviously you're putting the pieces together, right? So you have X amount of guys signed already, you have X amount of guys returning, then you have a handful of guys, or maybe even a dozen guys that this kid might make the NA team, or this kid might make this NA team, or it came down to pretty much the last week of the off season, trying to figure out where guys fit in. And I tell you what, I was comfortable the whole way. I was comfortable with what I recruited. I was comfortable with who I was going to get, what the shakedowns might be. It's people think that the off season is the easy part for us coaches. It's actually the toughest. It was definitely a grind this year.
I was going to say, I imagine it is the hardest because whatever work you put in the off season is going to translate to the regular season, and if you don't put enough work in, you're probably not going to get the results you're looking for.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So you kind of sometimes you can't really build a team and say, hey, I want to be this team this year, this type of team. I want to have this. I want to have 10 guys that are just straight skilled players, or I want to, it came to a point where it was, this is a good hockey player. Mm-hmm. This kid has potential. This kid has a high ceiling. You look at all these intangibles, man, this kid can skate. This kid has good hands and vision on the ice. This kid has a great shot, big body. So it was kind of like we put all these things together with some of these kids, and then, training camp happens. So training camp happens, and then it's like you play, we played like, I wouldn't say an exhibition game against Scranton University's club team, but we did like a systems day, we played against them, and then really the big test was our first game of the year, of really seeing what you have to be able to put guys in place and the right pieces in the right spot. And it was a long process, that's for sure.
When I think about the process too, there was a conversation I'm going to bring up you and I had off air one time. It was actually earlier this season. We were talking about when the NAHL Knights made it to the Robertson Cup Championship a season ago. Something you told me was it was as if you and Coach Whiteside found another gear in your ability to coach, your ability to develop, your ability to push kids. Yeah. Do you think maybe, when the season for the NA team ended in May of 2018, that extra gear you found there, you were able to take with you to your head coaching role following year with the EHL team?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's weird that you remember that. But yeah, no, you're right. It definitely did, because it gave me a lot of motivation going in, and it gave me kind of that edge, I think, when it came to these players, of what you got to teach them to get to that level, not just make it as far as that NA team did, but what it takes to play at that level. And when you get in the playoffs, no matter what league it is, I mean, the NA, the playoffs, it's a whole other monster. Robertson Cup was a whole other monster. It's everything is elevated. The game is much quicker. Guys are faster. Guys are playing with more intensity. Blocking shots and running through walls. And that was the thing is finding kids that are willing to go that extra mile. Willing to take that extra couple steps. Willing to get in the weight room and do a couple extra reps. Willing to get on the ice early and put the work in. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to help you succeed in their personal goals and their individual growth. And, like I said in that article, it all comes together at the end team-wise, the team success. So Robertson Cup, definitely, yeah. I mean, me and Whitey, it was like, you left there and it was like, now we know. Now we know exactly what you're looking for. I knew exactly what I was looking for. And you say compete level 1,000 times throughout a season, and I think the past month, that was the main message in the locker room was, we got to have good compete today, good compete level, on the bench, hey, keep competing. That's what you looked for when I was scouting and recruiting guys.
You refer to the article online, of course, we're talking about the EHL review. You can find it on WBSKnights.com. And on there are a couple of players we talked to as well, guys like Matt Mood, yep. I've had a chance off air speak with Zach Liddell-Hodgman, who's the latest commitment to Albertus Magnus, Hunter Bersani, leading scorer this season. One of the dynamics that seemed to be a parallel for all these players is they all kind of talked about the growth, and if we can try and it's certainly hard to downsize a 44-game season into a minute or less, but if we can for a moment, you guys win 2 games, you lose the next 5 to start the season. About midway through the year, you're a 500 team. You then went on a 4-game losing streak late December into January, and you kind of just remain as this bubble team, and then all of a sudden something happens, something clicks. Getting Anthony Starzy certainly helped, where you picked him up in November, but your team finished winning 13 of the last 15 games of the regular season. Then you sweep a team, then you win 4 or 5 in the playoffs to go to the Frozen Final. I mean, this team was almost as productive as the Philadelphia Little Flyers in those last 20 games or so. What did you see in the development of these guys that made it from a bubble team to one of the best teams in Tier 3 hockey?
One, I have to say, I sat down and I think this year, and I have people in my life personally that tell me every year you say this, every year you say it's going to be a battle, every year you say, and look how your teams end the season. So just relax and enjoy it. And I think what I really did was I picked guys apart individually, and I watched a lot of film individually. I would just watch one random game. I'd go on and watch one random game from past 10 games or whatever, and just watch one kid. Then pull them in, and I kind of picked those apart on the ice. What we need to start implementing in practice to help. Well, and it doesn't just go with one kid, right? I mean, you might need to be working on your hands and vision, but Johnny has to work on the same thing essentially at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So I really kind of took a focus on dialing in on practices, breaking them down a little bit more, individualizing things for guys' specific needs, which in turn, right, leads to the team total effort. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of fun with it, and I sat and I looked at it, I was like, man, we have a really skilled team. This is a really skilled group of kids. Some lack that mental ability, the mental part of the game, the IQ. Okay, we got to hammer on video now. Now we got to work on this stuff. Now I got to teach the game a little bit more, back off the skill stuff, right? And then vice versa. And then eventually at some point in time, you know, you go back to the skill stuff, and then you go back to this, and you go back to that. And I tell you what, I think guys didn't understand. One, they were very green. Even the veterans, they were very green junior hockey players, okay? And it was teaching them how to compete at a high level, come to work every day. And I know you said try to wrap this up in 1 minute.
No, it's hard to do.
Yeah, it's you know, I think we hit that point in time. You came back after break there. We dropped those 2 games, and it was like, guys, what are we doing? What are you doing here? You know, and it was kind of look in the mirror, you know, and ask yourself, what do you want? You know, ask yourself, did you work hard today? Ask yourself, are you coming to the rink every day for practice and giving 100% effort? You know, and I gave these kids challenges. I challenged them. I started challenging them in practice. I remember the one day, it was the first warm-up drill, and we were maybe 20 seconds into the drill, and I counted 10 guys that didn't call for pucks, for passes. Blow the whistle, bring them in, and hey, every pass is 10 push-ups. They would be 160 push-ups at the end of the drill, you know. And then, and you know what? And it was kind of like, all right. And then,
but it worked.
Yeah, it worked. I tell you what. And then, but that's what I started doing, and I started doing that with a couple other things. And then, you know, I challenged them in games. You know, I challenged them. Hey, we scored 4 goals. I want 5 goals today. You know, we only scored 4. Okay, we have a workout tomorrow. You don't have you have an off day out on the ice, but we have an off-ice workout. You know, we're doing video. We're doing this. We only had 20 shots. I wanted 30. You know, just I gave the team individual goals to work for it, and then you could see that they just took off, and they knew, okay, coach wants this, we got to do it. You know, and they kind of pulled together as a group, and that's where the skills all came together, and that's where one guy would pitch in, and one guy might be having a bad day, and another guy stepped up to the plate. I remember talking. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, dude, I go home at night. And it should be like the night before or something, a game like where you're actually trying to figure your lineup out for tomorrow. I start on Monday.
Yeah.
I'm like, like the lineup got real tight in that stretch where it was like, who do you?
Is it needless to say your job this season was not a 9 to 5?
It was 23.
Yeah.
23, 22.
23/7.
Yeah,
1 hour each day to maybe sleep.
Yeah,
so,
you know, and that was the thing, you know, and a lot of people say, hey, you stress yourself out about these kids and you stress yourself out about this team, but I tell you what, it wasn't stress. I had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.